Hi, I'm Derek, business systems coach for contractors. In this video, I'm going to be sharing with you step by step how to run through an estimate, how to make sure it's profitable, make sure it's accurate, and I'm going to briefly touch on how to structure your cost code. So stay tuned, we'll jump right in. All right, so here is the lesson. We're going to be jumping through an estimate, going, step by step, how to set up a template. So how to set up a proper template for your estimating, as well as what you should be thinking about as you're running through an estimate for a client. This one's based off a kitchen renovation. You can use the principles and practices, to make out whatever type of, template, or if you're in a trades business, you just have to structure it differently. We're going to be basing this off of some cost codes. So if you don't have cost code set up, very important that you do get that set up sooner than later. Just helps keep everything on track as you move through what you're doing with estimating, to guys tracking their time, to your bookkeeping, to just financial management of projects of your company. So this is based on the National Association of Home Builders cost codes list. This is not an extensive list. This is pared down. You want to start simple. You don't need like the full list of 300 different cost codes. Essentially, there's 6 divisions that I've got set up using a client's account to show this. All the numbers and general information is just for demonstrative purposes. It's not actual cost or any specific estimate project. But so we've got 6 divisions here, and in each division you're going to have multiple items. So things like rough structure. So you've got your different framing and windows, doors, and then your rough trades like HVAC, plumbing, electrical, fireplaces. And then the division is 0-3, and you've got your different cost codes for the different things. So do enough that you can divide things up properly, but not so much that it's just confusing and overwhelming. I'm not going to go into super big detail on cost codes, just wanted to give you a brief overview of how I would set it up for a client. Now running through the estimate. So you've got the information from the client, whether that's some plans and some pictures, or you've done a in-home consultation and you've got your notes, and then we're going to be running through an estimate. So you want to be chunking your estimate in different categories, and you're going to base this off your cost codes, and cost codes are based off the timeline of a project. So you've got your pre-construction, so this is your design, your planning, any environmental testing that you may be doing, surveying, all those type of things that you need to get in place before you start the project. When you are building out your template, you want to have your costs, so standard costs of each part of the project. You want to make sure that your template is robust, that it's well built out, that it's got like all the different kind of options or things that might be included inside a normal estimate, because it's much easier. Like if, let's say, there's no interior design on this one, it's just like some small kitchen and the clients want to do their own design, delete. You just click the delete button and it's gone, right? It's super easy. Whereas if it's like you have a template that doesn't have interior design, and it's like, I'm working with interior designer, now you have to go in, you have to add it, and, it just takes a lot more work to have to add things in than to delete them out. So make sure you got everything in there. Quantities, set them to 0. The reason being that you don't want to be pulling from a past project and then you've got numbers in there. Maybe you got busy, you only did half the estimate, and then you jump back in and you start from where you left off, but you maybe missed a few things, and then you've ended up including pricing from a different project that's not actually from takeoffs or from the specific project that you're doing. So have the quantities in your template zeroed out. This is just a general rule. Rules can be broken, of course. If you've got something that's just standard across every project, you can have a standard price in there. But I found that's most useful. So essentially, we got our unit cost. So this is what it cost you, or what you're going to be charging to the client, and then you're going to have your markup percentage. So I just have a standard 15% here. Yours may be 10, although 15% is probably about the lowest that you typically go. Could go up to like 50%, markup depending what you're doing. The type here, so we've got subtrades, labor, material. So you've got different types of line items that you'll be putting in. Let's say, so for interior design, let's say we have an in-house designer, going to take her 10 hours to help the clients choose, selections for their kitchen. Project management. So in the pre-construction, project management would be meeting with trades, maybe coordinating with the interior designer, scheduling everybody when the project starts, putting together a schedule. So let's say that's going to take 6 hours of time from the project manager. Small project, doesn't really need to meet too many people. So this is how you just go through, and because you've got this already built out a template, it's going to help you not miss things as you go along, because you're not like, everything's already there, it's already built out. So again, if you don't need something, you just delete it. But otherwise it's like, we're not going to forget about the garbage bins and the hauling, right? right? With the demolition, because it's already built in. So that you'll just simply go through, I won't waste your time here just like going through everything together, but this is also like for demonstration. So when I would create a template for a client or we work on one together, it would be even more built out. There's probably about twice as much detail. We jump into one, like let's say framing and carpentry labor. So we're framing in a new wall, let's say, or removing a wall or whatever. You would have like framing labor too. So you'd put in your scope of work here, remove, well, it wouldn't be removing, let's say framing, beam, and new tray ceilings, something along those lines. So you would add your scope of work in here, check your markup percentage, your hours, how you calculate your hours. So there's a lot more information. This is Contractor Foreman. So that's a software I'm using here, which a client's using, which I enjoy. I like it's pretty solid. There's a whole bunch out there that you could use, maybe use another ones, but generally you should have the same type of functionality when you're doing your estimates. Even if you're using a spreadsheet, this is generally what you're going to see. Cost code. So everything should have a cost code so that we can track later the framers, whether it's your own or the sub trade. They took 5 hours more than we expected. Now we're out whatever, $600. Why did that happen, or should we have estimated more? So always have cost codes, because you can track the cost of a project and see how your actuals are compared to what you've originally estimated. Other than that, you'll go through, make sure your takeoffs are accurate. So accurate takeoffs. A note about labor hours is it's very easy to get wrong. If you've estimated enough projects, you probably know this, like figuring out how many framing hours it's going to take. If you're putting in a beam and tray ceiling, it's probably, you can figure that out. Renovations work is always a little bit of a crapshoot as far as like what you're going to get into when you start opening up ceilings and walls and stuff like that. But that said, you want to be thinking things through. And framing carpentry labor, you want to bulk this out. So something like this you might just duplicate. You have to bear with me, it's haven't used this software a whole bunch, but anyways, something like framing carpentry labor you might duplicate a couple times, and then maybe like install beam is going to be 8 hours, frame tray ceiling, that's going to be a 2-day job, because they're doing into the dining room and it's pretty extensive. Fixing old framing and the floor sheeting, that's going to be a 4-hour job. So break things out and have more detail for your labor hours as a way to increase the accuracy and have a good built out scope of work, because the clients can see, this is one thing, this is another thing, this is what we're doing, not just like framing a new kitchen as per plan. Yeah, that's, tells her what they're doing, but it's not really descriptive of what's getting done. And it opens up that gray area of like the client, later is like, well, I thought you were going to be framing, tray ceilings in throughout, the hallway as well. Well, no, that doesn't make any sense. Why would we do that? But the client's expecting it. So if you go back to, your scope of work and it says just random, like kind of general kind of stuff, it's hard to, find out where the line is. If you have tray ceilings in kitchen and dining room, then it's not open for discussion, right? It's like you had it in there, anything more be extra. So a little quick tip on how to increase the accuracy as we go through. So you got your HVAC, hood range ducting, it could be fans or whatever else. Plumbing. So generally plumbing, you're going to do per plumbing fixture. So if we're doing a kitchen, you're going to have your sink and maybe a dishwasher as pretty much like, 2 different plumbing fixtures that you're going to need to change. You could have a fridge too, which isn't really a big connection, but that's how I'd estimate that. If you're doing kitchen and bathroom, maybe it's like a 3-piece bathroom, so that you got 5 different plumbing fixtures that need to get done. So multiplier, I've got $900, but that's whatever, you got to check pricing for your area and your contractors that you use. So that's a subcontractor. Material, so kitchen sink, you're going to need one of those. Kitchen faucet, you're going to need one of those. For plumbing, for a kitchen, that's about it. If you're doing a bathroom, you might need a bathtub, you need your shower controls, you're going to need a toilet, sink, faucet for the vanity. So plumbing would break out. And if you are doing you can have categories, you can have subcategories. So you could have kitchen plumbing, bathroom plumbing, powder room plumbing, basement plumbing, whatever, right? So the more detail and broken out things are, the better. Of course, you've got to manage your time. So I would suggest something like this for like a rough estimate or a rough budget, where you can just go through, plug in numbers. You get a rough number for the client, and you can tell them like, this is an estimate of like kind of how much it's going to cost. This is a general budget. If you're good with this, we'll get like a pre-construction agreement and a deposit, and then we will, drill this down and get more fine-tuned numbers as we go along. So depending how you operate your business, that could change. But because you don't know which kitchen sink they're doing, you've also got to make sure that these are allowances. I'm probably going on and on here, but there's a lot that goes into estimating. Once you get sufficient with this, it is, you can run through one pretty quickly. But you want to always make sure that if it's an allowance, it's stated as an allowance, and somewhere else you've got verbiage. All allowances are up to the number. They include taxes. Anything over the allowance will be additional cost to the client. Client will be paying for, any additional selections over top of the allowance or whatever, however you want to word that. But make sure it states in their allowance so that when the client picks, a $5,000 sink, which I don't know if it's gold plated or diamond plated, but obviously they're going to have to pay extra for that. So that's that. Kitchen electrical. So for electrician costs, you generally want a multiplier like per square foot if you're just doing like kind of rough budgeting. So let's say it's 250 square foot kitchen and dining room that you're doing. That's going to be electrical. You could just have this could be one of those standard numbers, which for kitchen electrical, you could have just a multiplier of small, medium, large kitchen possibly, and then have different pricing for that. But square footage is generally fairly useful depending again on the type of project it is. So you'll have to kind of figure that out. Good way to get accurate numbers too is talk with your electrician, or if you've got 2 or 3 different electricians you do, say hey, if I'm budgeting a project, how does your pricing, what's a good way to do quick pricing for a project? And they'll tell you oh, this is the square footage multiplier I'd use, or this is small, medium, large kitchen. Generally, this is the price range that you can put in for a budget. It should be close to that. So ask them for their help. They're the ones that are going to be pricing it and you're going to be paying. So get on page with them so that you are creating enough budget to work with them and also stay competitive as well. So then you're going to have, your light fixtures like pendants, your under cabinet lighting. Again, under cabinet lighting, something very easy to get to miss and not think about and easy to add in. And if the client's no, I don't want that, delete it out. No worries, right? But if they do want it, it's a little upgrade. You get paid more. The more you can add to a project, the happier the client's going to be generally, because they're going to get all the bells and whistles and cool stuff. And you're going to get paid more essentially for the extra work that gets done. Drywall, pretty straightforward there. You're just doing square footage takeoffs or hourly. So kitchen, renovation, unless you're gutting to studs, your drywall is just going to be patching more or less. You could have a square footage multiplier here if you're doing again, down to studs, full, home renovation or main floor, basement, or what have you. Interior finishing. So this is generally lineal footage of your finishing carpentry, your baseboards, your casing, your windows, doors, stuff like that. Interior painting, I like a square footage multiplier. And then one thing that can be variable on projects is the amount of doors. So again, talk to your painter, ask them how they quote their projects and get pricing from them. You can work with them to know where their pricing's at. So you can get a fairly good rough budget before actually getting hard quotes from them. Cabinetry and millwork, generally you're going to be doing a lineal footage takeoff for cabinetry. This is lowers and uppers. So if you've got, let's say 20 lineal feet of kitchen cabinets, and then the top, you're not going to have quite as much, but let's say it's 15, you'd have 35 lineal feet. So put in 35 in here and you got a budget of 10 grand for cabinetry. If this multiplier you find is low, you could up that to 350 per lineal foot or whatever. That is kind of your range of what you do. If you do kind of more economical stuff, or if you want go mid-range. I wouldn't go super high because most clients are going to look at that, budget number, and that's how they're going to make their decision. So you want to be enough to be reasonable that they can get a good kitchen, but not super high end where it's they're worried about you just throwing money away. So handles, another thing that you can forget. So you got 35 lineal feet, probably about 35, handles, 1 per foot, unless you got a whole bunch of drawers or something. So you can, whatever. This is kind of just a guessing game at this point, but do 50, not a huge cost, but at least you got it in there, right? So things like that. Countertops, easy to do, square footage, takeoffs. You might have 2 in here. You could have stone and laminate type countertops. You could have butcher block. So you could have 3 different options here. And then you just, you'd ask the clients which option they're planning to go with, and you just delete the other 2. Still with me here, running through estimating. It's not super exciting, but hey, it's something necessary. And the thing to think about this process is once you have this template, like what I'm doing right now, as long as you know how to do a takeoff and kind of understand the construction process, you can delegate this to a project manager, even one of your foremen, if they understand how many hours things are going to take, or kind of how to read blueprints and plans. This is not rocket science for doing a rough budget. They could run through this, get it done, takes them maybe 20, 30 minutes. I don't know if the template's built out and they understand the project. And then you can come in and you just review it right together and just I know this one's going to be a little bit more difficult, or, we got to drive pretty far, so I'm going to up the markup a little bit, or, I know the pricing from this supplier is going up, next month, so we should really be accounting for that. So whatever, you can delegate this and have someone and then just review it before you send it out, or contact the client to actually show them the budget and hopefully get the contract signed. So tiling square footages, flooring square footages, appliance installation. So if they're supplying the appliances or they're getting them ordered, you can install the appliances. Good way to just provide more services for a project. Now near the end, this is really important, is the site maintenance and cleanup. Accounting for regular cleanups from your guys, site maintenance, maybe floor protection, which I don't think I have on here. So putting down ram board on the floors, cleaning up, sweeping, cleaning garbage, all that kind of stuff, right? So you want to be accounting for this in your budget because you're going to need it, and it's going to produce a nice experience for the clients. Another thing would be to have cleaning. So you have your cleaner come through at the end of the project and just clean up the whole project so it's moving ready, right? So that's something you would want to have in here. Miscellaneous. So this one is like something you're going to need. Not all clients are on board with it. I really haven't had much pushback on this, but I know talking with other contractors and some of my clients where they're hesitant to put a miscellaneous labor charge in the budget because clients are like, well, are you guys just going to use that and charge me for it or what have you? And you just let them know, my experience, there's always little things that need to come up, need to get taken care of. It's not necessarily anyone specifics that's going to be doing it, so we need to send someone to get it done, or just things that we haven't accounted for, especially in like a renovation. So we have a little bit of time in there. Some people do like contingency. You could kind of like put this miscellaneous into site maintenance and just include it with that to make it a little bit more like, per site kind of thing instead of just calling it miscellaneous. But this is a good little buffer to help you with that, stuff that's not accounted for, you didn't think of, or just stuff that comes up because, you never know what you're going to get into sometimes. And then one of the big things that a lot of contractors maybe don't think about or don't have specified specifically is the project management, especially if you don't have a project manager and you're doing it yourself. Sometimes you feel like, my markup and overhead is like paying for my, myself. Like the profit of the business goes to me. I manage the projects. It is what it is. But no, the reason you want to have project management in there, so you get paid, of course, but also if you are going to level up and hire project managers, they can't operate off your profit and overhead because that's not a way to run a business. They should be getting paid, per the project, per the hours that they're putting in. So if you know that this is like, let's say a $60,000 kitchen, and generally large kitchen renovation or medium kitchen renovation, is going to take them, let's say 40 hours of their time. Could be more, could be less, but you want to have that in there so that you can pay someone. And if you're doing the project management, you're getting paid for your time, the time you're spending to manage the project, essentially. And the reason for this too is you can code your hours, so you can go back later and look like, oh, it actually took me like 60 hours to manage this project. I should be budgeting more for project management. Or maybe it's like, hey, I only took 30 hours, but a similar project by my project manager took 60. So what's going on? How come they aren't as efficient as me? Or how can we help them, coach them to be better at project management? So that's in a nutshell of like how to estimate a project. This is a kitchen one. Obviously, other projects are going to be similar. You're just putting in your line items, calculating your numbers. If you have questions, drop them in the comments below, send them to me, reach out. I'm here to help you. If you want help setting up your templates, again, reach out, contact me, get in touch. I can help you build out templates. I've got all this stuff, ready to go. Pretty easy to set up your cost codes and templates and save you tons of time. Make sure you're more profitable, increase the accuracy of your estimates so that you're not forgetting stuff and paying for clients' projects because you forgot to put something in, or getting clients upset because you forgot to put something in and now you want to charge them extra for it and the project's running over. So tons of reasons to get a good template, good estimating system in place, save time, save money. I'll see you on the next video.